Hey everybody, it's Mitch and welcome to my next video. Today we're going to be doing a movie review for The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings. Now, this was a great movie, and I'm going to warn you now, spoilers. It's an old movie, so, I mean, a lot of people probably have seen it, but there are going to be spoilers in this review, so keep an eye out for that. Now, what to say about this movie? Well, it's obviously based off of the book, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Rings. It's not just based off of that book, it's also based a little off of The Two Towers and The Return of the King. The way Peter Jackson did it, he kind of just um, made 3 movies to match 3 books, and they kind of work together, but not exactly. So there are bits and pieces. Now the Fellowship is pretty pure on just Fellowship for the most part. However, the very end of the movie is actually from The Two Towers, the beginning of that. So that's kind of an interesting little twist there. That piece there would be, of course, spoiler alert, the fact that Boromir dies. He actually does not die in the Fellowship of the Rings in the book. He dies in the Two Towers, but they moved that to the end of the Fellowship of the Rings for the movie version because they felt it would fit better at the beginning of a movie than fit better at the end of a movie than it would at the beginning of a different one. So that's kind of the reason for it. I've watched all the special features, so unless they're lying in the special features, that is the reason. That's what they say in those. So yeah, unless Peter Jackson was lying in that, then yeah, that's what the case is. Either that or I misunderstood something, which is highly unlikely. They were pretty clear about things. Anyways, let's get on with things. So the movie itself, basically, it's the story of some hobbits taking the ring on a journey. The whole first half of the movie is just, hey, we got this. I got this ring. What's going on with this? Just kind of setting things up. It's not even really a story yet. It's tons and tons and tons of setup, especially if you have the extended edition. First, you got to learn about the history of the ring. Then you got to learn what the heck a hobbit is. Then after that, you got to learn, a little bit about Bilbo Baggins and where the story picks up after the Hobbit, which would be at Bilbo's birthday party, where he very reluctantly hands the ring over to Frodo via Gandalf. So that's kind of an interesting thing there, and that takes like pretty good chunk of the movie just getting through that initial setup, just getting the ring to Frodo. Now, once he has it, he doesn't know what to do with it. He's like, oh, it's a ring. Okay, cool. Then Gandalf starts getting a little suspicious because he realizes a few things odd about it, and he starts doing some research and finds this actually is the One Ring. And he goes and tells Frodo that, and tells Frodo, you got to get this ring out of here. Take it to Rivendell. It'll be safer there. So he plans to set out for that. As he does that, the Nazgul show up, or the Dark Riders. They show up and almost get him, but don't quite get him. And they're off to Rivendell. That's where he runs into Sam right away. Sam's there from the beginning. Mr. Samwise Gamgee and his best friend slash employer Frodo Baggins. Then they very quickly run into Merry and Pippin, Meriadoc Brandybuck, and Peregrine Took. Anyways, so they all head off, which isn't quite how it happened in the books. They actually didn't run into Merry until the river crossing, but they changed it a little for the movie, which wasn't exactly a fan of, but no, anyone who's read the book isn't going to be a fan of a change for the most part. So, that's just kind of how that is. Anyways, they end up escaping death. They get to the river, and then the next thing you know, they're in Bree, which in the book there's this whole thing between them. There's actually a lot that happens between the river crossing and getting to Bree, but in the movie they just skip right to it, like nothing happens whatsoever. There's literally nothing between those. It makes it look like Bree's right on the other side of the river. Anyways, so they get to Bree, and they find Gandalf's not there, which is surprising because he's supposed to be there. You as the audience see that he's battling Saruman. He's kind of trapped there, so that's kind of an issue. That's not something you find out till much later in the book. Again, something I didn't like about the movie. I wish they would have, you know, kept the suspense a little better, but you know, he made his choices when he made the movies, and they're not horrible. So yeah. Anyways, once they get to Bree, they run into Strider, who they're kind of suspicious at first. He's kind of this dark, shadowy figure. Turns out he's a good guy, and he's helping them out. Saves them from the Nazgul, and then they head off to Rivendell together because they realize Gandalf's not going to be showing up. Frodo trusts him, the rest of them not so much. Um, Anyways, they head off to Rivendell. They end up running into the Nazgul again on the way, and Frodo gets stabbed by one of their blades, and he gets hurt, almost dies. Actually, he doesn't really almost die. He almost turns into a ring wraith himself. So, yeah, that would have been bad. Anyways, that almost happened, but it didn't quite happen. So that was definitely a positive aspect. Although that wound does slow him down a lot throughout the course of the movie and really hurts him for the rest of his life. So, anyways, they eventually get to Rivendell. All is good. Everything works out. Um, Once they get there, Elrond's like, "Hey, we can't keep this ring here. It's not safe. It's not going to stay here. You got to get it out of here." Which Gandalf's like, "Darn, this kind of sucks." So, they summon all these people to try and figure out what's going on with it. Um, and they all decide that, okay, we're going to have to destroy this ring in Mount Doom. There's a lot of arguing before they can get to that, but that's eventually what the consensus is. It's not unanimous because, Boromir's completely against this idea, and he never really changes his mind, but eventually he's like, yeah, okay, fine. Everyone else is against me, so I might as well just go along with it. Um, so he goes along with it just because, he's completely outruled. He's completely overruled. But even when they figure that out, they still can't decide who's going to take it there. Eventually, Frodo steps up and's like, "I'll take it there," even though kind of sucks for him because he's already done his part. Now he's deciding, what, I'm going to keep going on this journey, even though it should be over for him. So he decides he'll take it, and everyone's cool with that. Um, and Boromir, of course, makes sure he gets part of the group. They changed it a little bit for theatrical reasons from how the book went. There's actually a ton more stuff that happened in the book, but there's only so much you can do with a 3.5 hour movie. At least if you got this extended edition, I think it's like 3 hour, maybe 2.5 for the theatrical. It's been a while since I've seen that one. Anyways, so they head off to go throw the ring into Mount Doom, but they're a long ways from there. So first they got to get past the Misty Mountains, and that's a real challenge. They realize Saruman's watching them, so that's not good. And of course, by now they realize Saruman's an enemy because when they meet up with Gandalf back in Rivendell, he kind of informs them that Saruman's working with Sauron, and that's not good. That was a major reason why the ring had to leave Rivendell. Anyway, so they take care of that, and bring it to. They try and get past these mountains, but they try and go over this. So they realize they can't just keep going south and take the southern path. So that kind of sucks. So they try and cross through this kind of rough mountain trail, and it gets really rough and really rough winter conditions. It's just unbearable. So Frodo decides that they should head back and go through the mines of Moria, which Gandalf really didn't want to do. Gimli was all for it, but Gandalf really did not want to do it. So anyways, they go through the mines of Moria and realize it was a bad idea. Gimli's he had a relative there. I forget which one it was. I think it was Durin. It's hard to remember. Or maybe it was, no, I think it was Balin. Yeah, Balin. He was supposedly king of the mountain now, but in the mix of everything, they realized that apparently he died. He got trapped in there. They had a couple of monsters guarding each entrance and tons of goblins and orcs. So they were pretty much done. There was nothing that they could do. And except for, wait for the goblins and orcs to kill him, which is what eventually happened. But they ended up taking, but Gimli and the group, they managed to take him down. They didn't succumb to the fate of Balin. So of course, I'm sure you remember from The Hobbit, if you've seen that. That movie's already out. At least two of them are at this point. Anyways, so they end up fighting. They have to fight a cave troll. Then they race out of this place, and Gandalf ends up falling to the Balrog, but he manages to save the rest of the group. So they all get out except for Gandalf, and from there they're all mourning initially, but he knows what's going on. He wants to, Boromir, who's kind of the gruff one of the group, is trying to let the hobbits and everyone mourn, but Aragorn's like, there's not time for that. This place is going to be crawling with wargs by a night, so we got to get out of here. So they make for Lothlorien, which Gimli's completely against because he is not a fan of elves. But once they get there, he ends up falling in love with, well, not actually falling in love, but he's just completely mesmerized by Lady Galadriel. So that ends up happening, which is pretty cool to see. And from there, they get a bunch of gifts. They stay a long time there, actually. A lot happens there, to be honest. They get refitted. Actually, Gimli and Legolas actually start becoming great friends there, which is really weird because they hate each other throughout up until that point. But for some reason, at Lothlorien, they start becoming really, really close. That's where they really become good friends. Then anyways, so eventually they end up leaving. Oh, also, Frodo ends up talking with Galadriel and realizes she also has a ring of power, one of the three rings of the elves. Which the elven rings are, the three rings of the elves are the only ones that have not fallen. So that's kind of interesting. The elves are more resilient than others. Now, although hobbits certainly are the most resilient to the bewitching powers of the rings. Anyway, so they end up eventually leaving and heading south, down towards Minas Tirith. Now, Boromir wants to just keep going that way and, ride the river right into Minas Tirith and, head off. Aragorn's completely against it. He actually says he would not lead the ring within 100 leagues of the city. And, Aragorn's, he's the descendant of the king. He's the rightful heir to the king of Gondor, which Gondor hasn't had a king for a while. It's only had a steward, which Boromir is, of course, the heir to the stewardship. His father is the current sitting steward. So that's interesting, and it's been a long time since this place has had a king, so the stewards are not ready to give up leading Gondor and Minas Tirith. But anyways, Aragorn doesn't want to go. Boromir does. They start getting close, and basically they make camp, and some stuff goes down. And Boromir ends up dying. Frodo ends up on the other side of the river towards Mordor, heading to throw it in by himself, although Sam's with him. It's just him and Sam. Merry and Pippin end up getting captured by orcs, and Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli all head after to go rescue Merry and Pippin. And that's really how the movie ends. I guess that's all I have to say about it. I'm kind of running out of time. Anyways, please like the video. I won't know you like it if you don't hit the like button. Write your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And subscribe to my channel. Anyways, I'm Mitch, and I'll be seeing you.